There's no evidence that codependency is caused by any disease, but it is recognized as a potentially very unhealthy or emotionally damaging behavior. And I've seen a lot of television shows and movies. The number one trait all abusive relationships have in common is codependency. Victims of domestic violence would not stay a moment if they didn't have codependency. That's why abusers love bomb. They get you hooked so you're codependent. And when they change and do the bait and switch of turning into a monster, you won't leave. They got you hooked, hook, line, and sinker. Once codependency exists in a relationship, it's very hard to reverse the codependency. It's not impossible, but you gotta set boundaries. You gotta make it very clear when you're with a pastor. I do rely on your spiritual wisdom, your theological education, but I'm not going to rely on you as anything but a healthy mentor. And all but one church I've ever been to in 4 denominations worshiped the pastor. So when the pastor retires or is caught doing something illegal or unethical, unbiblical, or they're forced to step down, it's like somebody died. There's so much grieving and codependent. It's kind of like there's so much tension and it finally explodes. How many people's spiritual lives were ruined, damaged, or traumatized due to this codependent behavior? But why do churches do this? Well, here's a few reasons. Churches foster codependency through combination of factors, including over-reliance on leaders, emphasis on conforming and adhering to specific guidelines, whether it's biblical or not, an over-reliance on leaders, the use of guilt or shame to control behavior. This can lead to members sacrificing their own needs and well-being for the perceived needs of the church or its leaders. Beware of any institution that tells women to put everyone's needs before themselves. So let's break it down. Let's see kind of how each of these different behaviors is unhealthy. Number 1, over-reliance on leaders. Cultivating dependence. Churches inadvertently encourage members to rely heavily on leaders for guidance, decisions, and even emotional support, blurring the lines between spiritual leadership and personal life. There are many people in churches I've been in. They won't marry somebody unless the pastor marries them. They won't have kids until the pastor tells them, you're ready. There are people that won't even change churches because they're so codependent. Churches that discourage independent thought are creating an environment of codependence. If it's hard to challenge a leader or question church teachings, and you feel discouraged, leading you and other members to suppress their critical thinking and becoming overly reliant on leaders' perspectives. Number 2, emphasis on conformity, us versus them mentality. Churches create a strong sense of belonging and identify by emphasizing the uniqueness of the community, potentially leading members to view outsiders with suspicion and conformity within the group as paramount. This manifests as social pressure. Members may feel pressure to conform to church norms and expectations to maintain their standing within the community, even if it means sacrificing their personal preferences or values. especially if you're a woman. Number 3, manipulation and control. They use guilt and shame. Churches use guilt or shame to motivate members, especially when it comes to giving time, money, or resources. This can create a sense of obligation and make it difficult for members to say no or to set healthy boundaries. It can also manifest as controlling behavior. Some churches may exhibit controlling behavior when leaders or small groups try to dictate various aspects of members' lives, creating an environment of fear and dependence. This one was very popular at the churches I went to. When they use guilt and shame, this is very much like the purity culture. Women are they come last, which is why women are usually very unhappy in traditional family dynamics. And churches exhibit controlling behavior by creating an environment of fear and dependence. Number 4, neglecting individual needs, self-sacrifice. Members may be encouraged to prioritize the church's needs above their own, leading to burnout and neglect of personal well-being. Well, that was kind of every job I ever had. Suppression of emotions. Members may feel pressure to suppress negative emotions, doubts, fears about any topic in Christianity because they fear that they're going to be seen by members and leadership people as unfaithful or uncommitted. Number 5, the persecution complex. External criticism. Churches that exhibit codependent tendencies may react defensively to criticism, viewing it as an attack on the entire community and fostering a sense of persecution. Is that why most churches don't like or support movies made about their branch of religion? Usurping God's role. When leaders of the church become the source of a person's worth, security, and identity, it can displace God and lead to relational idolatry. Even though codependency is never explicitly mentioned in the Bible does address unhealthy relationship patterns, including those that displace God as the ultimate source of love, acceptance, and security. So, why do churches set this up if they later gaslight you? Without reliance, fear, and conformity, narcissists wouldn't be in church. If they can't gain access to people's time, money, resources, influence, and emotional dependence, narcissists wouldn't be in church. Narcissists love being around people who are vulnerable.